Hey, it's Jeff here. Welcome to NEBR, New England Beer Reviews. I'm not doing a beer review today. I'm responding to my friend Tasting Nitch. She put out this video the other day, FABQ, Frequently Asked Beer Questions. And I'm going to respond to what she asked because, well, I think she's really cool. So I figured I'd talk about that. It is also kind of nice to learn about, you know, some of my history with beer and other people who like beer and what got me into beer. And so I'm going to go through her 9 questions while drinking a Shipyard Monkey Fist that my son bought me. My son brought it home and said, "Dad, have you ever had this?" I said, "Yeah, back in 2013 or 2012 when it first came out, but thanks anyway, buddy. I can always enjoy the new beer." So anyway, so I'm going to pour it into the glass and I'm going to get going underway right away. Her first question that she asked, hi Nitch, hope you're watching, was, how did you get into beer? Well, you know, I was a late bloomer. I'm in my late 50s now, and I really didn't drink any beer. Although my father, in the 60s, my father would give us a sip, you know, have this little Schlitz or whatever. But I really didn't drink my first beer until I was at college. I was probably around 20 years old, 21. The drinking age was 18 then, so I was about 20 years old. And the first beer, that's when I started drinking it. How did I get into craft beer? That's a little different because in those days, in the early 80s, I was just drinking whatever beer I could find, whatever was cheap. And but it was in 1986 or 1987. It was 86. I was a reporter. I actually worked for a radio station. You might be able to tell by the voice that I worked in radio, but I worked in radio for 18 years, and I was a radio news journalist. And in 1986, I went to the grand opening of at the time, it was the Catamount Brewery, which was bought out by Harpoon many years later. And they brought the reporters, local reporters, in to try out their beer, and that was the first time I had a craft beer. So how did I get into beer? Well, I guess the question is, I really have never been a big fan of wine or hard liquor, although I'm getting into whiskey more and more these days. But back then, I just wanted something to enjoy. It was pretty simple stuff, but as time went along, I kind of really got into it more and more. So what is my favorite beer? Question number 2. What is my favorite beer? I really don't like that question, you know. It's a hard question to answer because I have not had every beer that's ever been brewed. But if I were to look at it now, probably my favorite beer would be the St. Bernardus ABT 12. It's available somewhat widely around the U.S. And I love Belgian style, Abbey style brews, but the St. Bernardus Abt 12 is probably my favorite beer. It's one that I will buy the 4-packs or sometimes the large bottles just to have it on hand. It's not something that I've had it many times. It's probably the beer I go to more often. Probably second on the list would be Shipyard Old Thumper. Here I'm drinking Shipyard Monkey Fist. Shipyard Old Thumper has this really unique character to it. It's got this the ringwood yeast to it, and I really love that Shipyard Old Thumper. That's something I will buy more often, several times a year. I'll pick up a 6-pack, and it's a beer I really enjoy. Now, if I could have one brew for the rest of my life, what would it be? That's a hard question to answer. Style-wise, it would probably be an Abbey Quad or maybe an Abbey Double. If I could have cases and cases of an Abbey Quad or an Abbey Double on some deserted island in the middle of nowhere, then I'd probably be very content. So, how do you drink so much? That's the 4th question. How do you drink so much? Well, I don't really drink that much. You see my videos. Usually when I record my videos, it's the first beer of the day. I might have 1 or 2 after that. There's several days a week I don't have any beer. I tend to drink more on the weekends. So it's like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I don't really drink much beer at all, unless I'm at an event that beer is being served at. But pretty much my drinking is confined to Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, though I do sometimes have one during the week. If I had a busy day, you know, if you look back on my channel, you'll see reviews that come out on a Wednesday or a Tuesday. And but I will have them like 1 or something during the course of the week. On the weekend, I'll have a couple of more. So, do you think I'm an alcoholic? Well, I don't. That's a hard question to answer. I think that's the hardest question for anyone to answer. If you go by the Alcoholics Anonymous, you know, game plan, I'm an alcoholic because they basically say you can't have anything. You know, no drinking whatsoever. No drinking at all. But if you're talking about someone who drinks a lot of beer just to simply get drunk, no, I wouldn't say I fall into that category. I sample the beer. I drink it because I like to try the different samples of the different flavors, the malts and the hops, the yeasts, and all those different characters and different styles. And depending on the weather, I might want something heavier or something lighter. I really like to just drink beer, to sample beer, just to try it out, just to see what I can understand and taste in the beer. What's my favorite beer ingredient? Well, I'm a malt guy, I'm old school. Sorry, New England IPAs are kind of the big fad right now, where people have created all these IPAs where the beer has all these grapefruit and pineapple and orange and fruity characters that are just piled into the beer. When you pour it into the glass, it looks like you're pouring out, some kind of a juice of some sort. I'm not a big hop fan. I don't mind hops. I mean, hops really add to the beer, but I'd say I'm more malty because my favorite styles tend to be stouts, Scotch ales, probably the Abbey ales, as I mentioned before, and anything that's kind of dark. Old ales. I like old ales too. Something that's got some oomph to it, something that's got some sweetness to it. That's kind of my favorite style. So, do I brew? Well, give me 1 second. I'm going to show you something. I'm running away from the camera for a minute. Yeah, sorry. It'll be dead air, but I'm going to try to keep talking. I forgot to bring this up close to my camera, so let's bring it over here. And I'm still talking. I'm still coming over here. Does this answer your question? This is an old brew kit I bought in the 1990s. Actually, it was a gift in the 1990s. I don't brew that often. I actually brew maybe once a year. I'd like to do more because science has changed so much, but I do really enjoy brewing beer occasionally. I put together a nice stout once. I was really happy with that. The last beer I probably brewed was probably about 2 years ago, and I really kind of get back into it again. That was a triple at the time, so I really liked it. What was my first beer? Well, when you're my age, you kind of have to admit that you had something that was not a craft beer. The first beer I ever had was Miller High Life at my college campus. And I used to drink a lot of Miller High Life at my college campus. In fact, a whole lot of Miller High Life at my college campus. That was the thing to do. You would drink a lot of Miller High Life. That's what I had. That was my first beer. So, but I finally got beyond that, and after that Catamount visit I talked about a moment ago, I really saw there was so many opportunities and so many interesting things about the beer community that it really kind of expanded my horizon. So, final question. Who do you look up to in the beer community? Well, I would say that a lot of people are saying Michael Jackson, and I would have to say that's true. But locally, I'm the New England beer reviewer. I'm going to say Todd Mott. Todd Mott was the head brewer at Harpoon for many years. In fact, he is the one who created the Harpoon IPA, which is still on the market today. After he worked at Harpoon, he ended up going to the Portsmouth Brewery in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, where he created the Kate the Great Imperial Russian Stout, one of the best beers you can get. Comes out once a year, usually in March. Just delicate, just dark, just bold, just sweet, just a gorgeous beer. And people used to line up. That was probably my first experience with people lining up to get a beer, was to get the Kate the Great when it would come out, and the Shipyard Brewery would sell out within the day. In fact, they had lottery tickets. You had to kind of sometimes get the purchase the ticket in advance just to get your hands on some Shipyard Brew. And now, in the last 2 or so, 3 maybe years, I think it's 2 years, Todd Mott has opened his own brewery, Tributary Brewing, in Kittery, Maine, just over the river into Maine from Portsmouth. And he's still putting out his own variation on the Kate the Great. He changed the name to Mott the Lesser. But he's putting out some nice beers. I think he enjoys that environment. Working on his own, being able to create and to sort of create these beers that, he might have been confined to certain recipes while working for Portsmouth Brewery and for the Harpoon Brewery. Now he's on his own. He can come up with his new and own ideas. So Todd Mott would probably be my choice for the last question. So that'll do it for now. Tasting Nitch. I hope you enjoyed my discussion, and I really am pleased you asked these questions. So I'll catch you again next time.